Big D Entertainment, in association with Dipsy Doodle Productions, presents The Dave Holly Hour. Brought to you by The Sky Lounge and Tea, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Ale Hop Brewery Tours, and Jesse Moffat Entertainment. The Dave Holly Hour features Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment Conversations and has been recognized by the Sioux Falls Stage Awards with a special distinction for promoting the arts. A true lover of arts, entertainment, good food, and fun times, including an occasional Jack Daniels. Okay, so a few Jack Daniels. Here he is, Dave Holly.
Welcome, everybody. Such a pleasure to have you listening. As always, thank you for being so loyal to this program. It is greatly appreciated. Hard to imagine. We're in the countdown now. This is episode 91. 9 more weeks. That's like a quarter in a school year, isn't it? That will bring us to episode 100. As long as I don't have to miss anything for illness or something stupid that comes about in life, that 100th episode will come your way on the 7th of October. And it's going to be special. There's no doubt about it. Oh, what do we do here, you're asking? Well, we happen to talk to the creatives. We happen to talk to wonderful people. And today, we're going to be talking with Robyn Sieverding. She is a visual artist and artist, director, arts advocate, consultant, man of many, many talents. John Beranek is also on the show. But we toast the facts, so get out your mug, your glass, your snifter, your coffee cup, whatever it might be that you toast with. Because it's time.
Time to grab your favorite beverage, lift it high, and toast it to being Thursday, a.k.a. Weekend Eve.
Hey, the weekend isn't around the corner, it's here!
So long, hump day in your frumpy way. We say hello to Thursdays with opening nights. The weekend is near and we can see the bright lights. Yes, Thursday, you're so hearty, we can't wait for Friday, so a day early, we start the party.
Oh, and last Thursday, my wife and I had a date. And we toast the State Theater. Oh, what a magnificent facility that is. We took in that very romantic comedy, a great rom-com, golfing rom-com even, Caddyshack. But it was just so wonderful to be, we've been through tours of that place as it was making the restoration, and to see it in all its full glory, and to have a place like that, to take in some fun movies and the great lineup that they have there at the State. Well done. So my Jack Daniels Diet Coke with a lime goes to you, Sioux Falls State Theater, for this Weekend Eve. And the Weekend Eve toast has been brought to you by Ale Hop Brewery Tours, a great way to hop from microbrew to microbrew in Sioux Falls. Book a private tour of 4, 5, or 6 hours. You're in charge out of the 8 local breweries you could go to. Leave the driving to Ale Hop, though. Plus, the van looks pretty groovy. Todd M. says, it was a great way to spend the evening with my friends. He agrees the van is really cool, and it's nice to face each other while sitting in it. So book your private tour on alehopbrewerytours.com. Tuesday through Thursday tours start at 3. Fridays at 5. Saturday and Sunday tours as early as noon. If you don't mind sharing a ride, hop on one of the public tours. For more info, call 605-777-2183. That's 605-777-2183. Ale Hop Brewery Tours, where micro fans meet micro brews. And something else we do each week here on the show? Honorable Mention. Oh, honorable mention going out to the ladies of comedy in the Sioux Falls and Sioux Empire area. Way to go, Prairie Madness. We took that show in on Saturday night, and what a way to cap off a great Saturday. Congratulations, our friends Jamie Tharney and Alicia Rain, who've both been on the show before. And then Sarah King, who will be on the show sometime, Jessica Hammond, and also Grace Jessen, the ukulele herself. And we're hoping to get them on the show sometime as well. But congratulations. What a great night, and what a great event that was, as they raised some awareness for some groups as well. So well done, ladies of comedy in the Sioux Empire. Prairie Madness. Check them out on Facebook. They have lots of events they're going to be doing. Make sure you get to one of them. In fact, Jamie Tharney as well is going to be headlining at the Black Angus in August on the 28th. We're already in August, aren't we? Wow, where did July go? So the 28th of this month, Jamie's going to be headlining at the Black Angus Bar and Grill down in Canton. Jerry Irby will be the feature, and yours truly will be doing the opening and hosting duties. Speaking of hosting, be hosting trivia tomorrow night, Friday night, at the Sky Lounge in T. Starts at 7 o'clock. The theme is summery things, like Dog Days of Summer, etc. Yeah, so start thinking that way and get ready. See if you can win some of the great prizes. By the way, our wild card trivia that we had last week, finally, everybody won. Yep, they beat the dealer, so that was really, really cool. In the meantime, what's really cool are the conversations that we have coming up, including John Beranek. He's a director, he's an actor, he is one of those inspirational speakers and so forth, and a life coach type thing, and just all over, plus a great arts advocate and a great friend. And then also we have Robyn Sieverding, who is going to be on the show coming up in just a moment. Robyn is a visual artist. We'll talk to her about her artistic style, what got her into art, etc. That is all ahead here on The Dave Holly Hour. Sure, they have darts, and you've heard me talk about how ruggedly handsome the trivia host is, but all caps fun never stops at the Sky Lounge and Tea. And fun is best had with your friends enjoying live entertainment, as in live and local. Yeah, the Sky Lounge believes in giving you the best bands, solo artists, and comedians from the area. The Neo Johnsons, Elizabeth Hunstead, Skylar Volks, as well as many others. And a great staff will make sure you enjoy your fun at the Sky Lounge in Tea, South Dakota. Ladies, when it's time to give your nails some love, get that extra special treatment from Quality Nails on South Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. Manicures and pedicures that look great and make you feel fantastic. Zaya and Tony provide professional care for your hands and feet, whether you just want the basics or an extra special look with added flair. Oh, and guys, it's okay to treat yourself, too. Quality Nails. Call for an appointment. 605-334-1463.
It's another Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment conversation on the Dave Holly Hour.
Welcome back, everybody. Always a pleasure to have you along here at the Dave Holly Hour. And what is so fun is when you meet somebody new. I mean, think of all the people over the past 90 episodes plus that I have met, that I didn't have an association with before, and how kind they've been to me. Not just the fact that I've made new friends, but the fact that they keep me stocked up with Jack Daniels, as yet another guest has arrived with a bottle of good old Jasper Newton, Jack Daniels Old Number 7. Robyn Sieverding, I like you already. How are you?
Wonderful, thank you.
Excellent. Great to have you along.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And this is really cool because I haven't had a chance to have a lot of visual arts on lately. I've still got a lot on my list to get to.
Yeah.
But I knew that after seeing your stuff that your nephew introduced me to, and it was like, this is cool. So I wanted to get you on right away, and I think you were a little shocked when he handed the phone over to me, and we just introduced ourselves that way, but look what's happened. You're on a podcast now.
I love it. What things that happen at Costco.
Yeah. Well, see, that's where I buy mine, too.
Well,
along with a rotisserie chicken.
I was just going to say it was between the Jack Daniels and a rotisserie chicken.
Well, see, you knew you were coming in here today, and that was a week, so rotisserie chicken wouldn't make it anybody's refrigerator for a full week. No doubt about that. Have you all know to talk about your visual art? Because Kaden showed some of it to me, and then you sent me some of your pictures and so forth. I love the colors. I love the feel of it, the look of it, and so forth. I really got to see something in person now with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it's just outstanding.
You know, the journey that I've had has been so odd. I mean, growing up, like, school was not easy. And it just did not click. It took so much focus to try to figure, just try to listen to what the teacher had to say. And luckily, I went to school with a whole bunch of smart people, so I kind of like adapted to them. But, you know, they had no issue studying for a few hours, and I could not take it. And I remember when I was 14, I was studying for semester tests. And I just stopped. I put everything down, and I drew a mural on the wall because I mean that's where I gravitate towards, and I can watch something and pick it up very fast, or look at something visually and get it. When I just look at a building, it's just. There's so many things to look at, just anything at all. And so when it came to reading, though, it was incredibly difficult. And I guess, growing up in South Dakota or in the Midwest in a small town, it might not be reasonable to try to pursue being an artist and to charge people to charge people for something that you can just do so easily. And so there was a lot of guilt along with considering being an artist. And a local woman, she used to babysit me when I was little, Ronna Slutton. Her family, they owned JD Trophies. She paid me $100 as a deposit to come paint a mural for her.
Oh, wow.
And I was 18 at the time, and I'm like, oh, this is a huge deal. I need to go and do this. And after that, I ended up painting several murals for her, and it just became a thing that I just loved. And, other people would hire me, and I didn't have the same relationship with them, and I still had so much fear and shame about charging for art, about approaching people, and even just talking about things that were really real. I would always kind of sidetrack, so or make something funny. And so when I would be hired for something, and I would have a very difficult time having a relationship with them in a business sense. It was just a mess. And so after that, I just, I would do things here and there, but never really pursuing, an artistic career until in 2007, my sister died. And it was such a weird... It was the worst time of my entire life, but it changed me in ways that were so unexpected. And I went from not being able to paint or draw at all and starting to write, which is not something that I was ever really able to do. I always wanted to write stories, but I could never write stories. And then all of a sudden that was just my entire, I just kept writing stories. And
was it your therapy?
I think writing and cooking with butter, my husband and I were enormous around that time. I just cooked so much, and I baked, it was ridiculous. But yeah, the writing was absolutely my therapy. And it was right at the height of the recession, or it was at the beginning of the recession. She passed in 2007, and I was having a difficult time finding a job after that. And a friend of mine was like, hey, She was a manager at American Girl in Chicago. And she said, if you want, we're hiring seasonal. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Just give me the resume. And it was so much less money than what I had been making previously,
Right.
but I just wanted to work. And a job in there, while I was in seasonal, a job in their visual department opened up. And all of a sudden, I was doing a creative job for the first time in my life. And it was paying peanuts, but it was amazing. And I got to paint things that were displayed on Michigan Avenue. And then a couple weeks after I got the job, my husband got a job in Houston, Texas. And so we decided that it would be best for me to stay there for a year away from him so I could have a better chance of getting another creative job when I went to Texas. And when I got to Texas, like a year later, we did it for a year. It was incredible and amazing. And after a year, I moved to Texas, and it just happened to be at the time that a window position for Neiman Marcus was opening. And I know up north, Neiman Marcus isn't as well known.
We used to call it in the clothing business needless markup.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah.
There's a few of those. It's not uncommon just to say, it's just the shock in the beginning of the price of everything because, I got hired and I was so unqualified for this job. I was so unqualified. Like anybody that knows me or knew me at the time would absolutely tell you that fashion was not like my love language. It was just not. But I studied, I worked really hard, and I also wrote a really, a very conscious thank you note saying that this job was the reason why I stayed away for a year before moving down to Houston. And they gave me the job. It was just that pure, that positivity, that drive, the willingness to work hard. And that job, I just left after almost 10 years. That kind of changed everything for me.
Was it tough to pick up painting and being an artist for enjoyment or for other things after, having the creative part of you at work 40 hours plus a week?
It's odd because when I was surrounded by creative people and specifically having a direction or my boss would give me a focus, I could absolutely create whatever it was that they needed. And it was just awesome. But when I would paint for myself, I would never paint for myself. In fact, I did a painting, the Tara Buddha painting. I did that in November, and I was thinking about it. I think that was the first painting that I've done just for myself in maybe a couple of decades.
Wow. So you've kept busy, obviously, with it. It's just the fact that, the focus has changed.
Yes,
throughout.
yeah.
Adaptability, obviously, is a big part of art.
Yes.
What do you think that we need as a society to adapt to now in art? When we think of, learning about art, we hear the big names, Monet, Renoir, etc. And then people will say, oh, this guy's a really talented, or this person is a really talented modern artist. It's tough to, look at something and say, oh, that must be a so-and-so, unless you're actually in the art world, right?
Though, if you look at, all of my paintings, you're not going to really be able to say, oh, that's a Robyn Sieverding, because all of my paintings are so different because they're based off of what my interpretation of the situation of the person is. And I think as far as what people need to maybe adapt to is, instead of looking at something and, not knowing if something is like fashionable or not, if it speaks to you, it speaks
Right.
to you. And, art is really accessible. It's accessible, and it makes you, it opens up your mind and your vision and the possibilities and, the potential. And I think that as far as artists, they need to have more confidence to take that leap, to take that chance. And, that's not just artists, but I mean, for me personally, like, I went into retail, like way late in life. Like,
Been there, done that. Yeah.
I mean, it was just so odd, and it was the absolute right move for me. And then leaving, this second home of mine. I mean, it's about taking chances and believing in yourself and building sincere connections,
So you're originally from the Baltic area.
Yes.
And you've been to Houston, and now
Oh, my goodness.
Are you back just visiting at
Oh,
this
yeah,
time?
yes. No. I thought you were going to ask me all the places I've lived. No, I'm like, oh my gosh.
No, I've fallen into that trap because I know how many I've lived.
Yes. Yeah, that's so. No, I'm back visiting, and I mean, this has just been so magical. I haven't spent this much time at home since I actually lived here, and I've been able to do commissions while I've been here, and just spend so much quality time with family and friends, and driving in the country. I mean, just so many beautiful, beautiful moments.
All right, so we might not recognize a Robyn Sieverding painting,
No.
but what Robyn Sieverding murals around Sioux Falls would we run into?
No, I have no current murals.
Okay.
One family might still have them. I doubt it. They hired me a long time ago, and the children are probably outgrown. But yeah, I had painted several murals in homes, but they were all for children who are now who are now grown. I am painting a commission right now that's like 7 foot by 4 foot.
Oh, nice.
So it could be the
Substantial.
size of
Yeah.
a small mural. I've done murals smaller than that, but oh my gosh, it is totally 80s, like 80s. It has the neon colors that glow under the black light. It has a big boombox in the middle, neon pink graph, and like the galaxy underneath, and like the neon mountains in the background, and then 2 break dancers on either side. It is so 80s, and yeah.
All right, when you get commissioned for a job like that, then, they've obviously got this idea of what they want from you. How much play do you get in it then?
Actually, so his idea was the boombox.
Okay.
And it kind of grew. So I think
The
my
characters in the painting came out of the boombox.
yeah, I'm like, it needs more than just the boombox. It needs it needs more substance than that. You like this, and then and so I brought up a whole bunch of pictures. I created a Pinterest page, and so I gave him the Pinterest page, and I said, okay, I want you to go through this and tell me which pictures inspire you, which ones hit you, and I took those and I incorporated them into the actual piece. So
From that, did you do give us an idea of the process then to get to a mural point? Do you do a sketch then? What types of things do you work on to get to the point where you go to this large wall and say, I suppose I'll start on the left, or...
So it depends on, so a couple of years ago, I was able to do a mural of a dog in the Neiman Marcus window. Every year between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we adopt out dogs and cats through the Houston SPCA. And so I've been lucky enough to be able to paint several of their murals while I was there. And in 2019, I painted a dog and a cat. And they were such different processes, and I had to be I had to plan it out a little bit with the dog, because I had a photo that I cropped it, and I tried to kind of figure out where the shading would be. But honestly, with that, I just put a graph on the wall that matched a graph that I had created for the actual picture, and just made it centered and just winged it. Mm-hmm. They asked me, what will it look like? And I said, I don't know, but it'll look good. And they said, we trust you. And it was one of my most popular ones. Thank goodness. If it wasn't, oh well. But no, after that though, last year, just as a reference, I did another mural. And because it was during COVID, we couldn't have the dogs and cats in the actual window. So we just had kind of a visual display honoring the SPCA. And I got to go really big with it, and I drew out a little sketch, and it was just a rough sketch, but I was like, oh, these are about the right proportion. So then I just kind of based the whole mural off of this little weird rough sketch. And yeah, a lot of it is just winging it and just going with whatever it feels like.
Do you have any art available online?
All of my work is commission.
Okay.
People just they like me, or they like my work, and they want to see what I'll create from, their child, or their a loved one, or a pet, and yeah. So or I do murals as well, and not just personalized murals, but graphic murals. And yeah, so most of my stuff is commissioned.
What do you enjoy most about doing art, making art, being a creator?
Gosh, this is going to sound so cheesy, but I'm just going to go with it.
We like cheese on this show. I'm a big cheese fan.
Well, good.
It goes well with Jack Daniels.
So whenever I do a project, I really take the person into consideration, my client into consideration. And I really reflect on the project. And I go about each project as if it's a blessing, that I'm just putting this good energy into this piece for this person. And just having that connection and that special moment in time, that to me it's just, priceless.
How many pieces are in your portfolio?
Oh, God, I have no idea. I have no idea. I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just send you a couple in case you have a few questions. I'm like, oh, my gosh, I am blowing up your messenger. So I have no idea.
It's more than a few, though.
Yeah.
and it gets you commission work.
Yes.
So that's great. Always love to ask a couple of questions at the end. So if you're not being creative and not doing your artwork, what type of arts and entertainment do you enjoy?
My husband and I love going to movies, and we love reading, but he loves reading. I have to I have to be into it to actually be able to stay with it. But I love writing. And whenever something even upsets me or makes me really angry, like the injustice in the world, some story, I'm like, how can I put this in the book? How can I make the world a better place by making this a lesson somehow? And yeah, so I write, and we just love entertainment though, the whole gambit.
Yeah.
TV, TikTok. Oh my gosh, TikTok is so addictive. It's horrible.
I haven't started, nor will I.
Don't do it. It's a trap.
Any other types of hobbies?
Whenever I'm with my friends, I am just that's my happy place. Yeah. I have just some of the best friends that a person could ever wish for, and I am very, very, very fortunate.
I guess I do have one additional question.
Yeah,
Normally those are the ending questions, but
okay.
Since having been away, and then coming back, and you come into Sioux Falls. What do you see that you're going, wow, the arts community here is thriving?
Yes. Like the sculpture walk is just incredible. And this used to be a family tradition for us as well. Every time I would come home, we would get the family together and we would all do the sculpture walk. And, I don't know if you saw or heard of the movie I Really Get Into It.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I grew up with a whole bunch of those kids.
Okay.
And I came back just a week or two before the actual film premiere at the State Theater, and it was like just this great big love fest. And just seeing like the people that I knew from my youth, M.B. Haskett's or the Carpenter Bar, and like the Breaks and Total Drag. I mean, it's so incredible and fulfilling to see these people succeeding and enriching downtown Sioux Falls, because downtown Sioux Falls is like, it's always been such a close place to my heart. And I'm just in love with the whole vibe. I just love it so much.
Well, and thank you for stopping by, taking some time while you're home, visiting, and getting to know about your type of work. Where should people see some of your stuff, though, on Facebook and so forth? Do you have anything listed?
Yeah, okay, so I'm currently
trying
in the
to get
process.
you some, commissions here. So you can...
Thank you. I appreciate that. At least one of us is. So I'm currently updating my website, and so I will say you can reach me at robynsieverding.com. It's soon to
Robyn's
be
with a Y?
Robyn with a Y.
All right.
Thank you.
And spell out Sieverding for us.
Sieverding.
Just like it sounds.
I am awesome at self-promotion.
That's the way you have to be. I always say, toot your own horn. Well, I'm glad you had some time to spend with us. And again, from what I have seen of your work, I absolutely love it. It just pops. It speaks to me. And like you said, that really is what it is about modern art now. Is it? And here's just something else we can add. If you want to learn more about art, you want to experience art, there's lots of places around this town now to do so.
Yes.
Just get out and see it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and take it in, soak it up. Who knows? You might decide to become an artist after that.
Awesome.
Or at least, if nothing else, appreciate the work that goes into art. So appreciate you, Robyn. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with more of the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Hi, my name is Jesse Moffitt, and I'm not a piano player. I'm a comic magician and hypnotist. I've been performing for over 20 years. I've performed at many events, corporate events, holiday parties, post-prom parties, graduation parties, state and county fairs, festivals, just about anything you can imagine. The funniest thing about the Magic Act is that I use a ton of audience participation, and that can make things really interesting. Put it down the front of your shirt. Stop being so, my hand won't follow it. The best thing about the hypnosis show is that the volunteers and their imaginations really make it a blast.
Holy crap, dude, did you see what you just did? You could do that possibly to girls.
For booking information, go to Jesse Moffitt Entertainment on Facebook. That's JESSEMOFFITT. Or call 605-929-0964.
Listen to the Dave Holly Hour each week to hear who gets honorable mention.
Welcome back to the Dave Holly Hour, everyone. I tell you, the guest list just keeps getting better all the time. And yes, you can do that little thing that everybody does now by putting a period after each word. And this is a man that I've grown to admire over, close to 2 decades now.
Yeah.
And the first time I met you, John Beranek, you were producing Tony and Tina's wedding. And we just struck up some conversations. From that, when you would come in, you knew that I did some performing as a clown at that time for the most part. And you asked me, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, I'd really like to learn some improv. And you said, well, by gosh, let me introduce you to Toby Kane. And we were in improv together.
Right.
Then you and Toby had a group that was called Off the Cuff Stuff
That's
Productions.
right. Yeah, good.
To which you were really instrumental, in my opinion at least, for bringing the interactive dinner theater format to Sioux Falls with that. And what made you decide, I think Sioux Falls is the right spot to have a little company like this where we can do this interactive instead of having to have a fully memorized, 2-act play or musical?
Well, first of all, Dave, thanks for having me on your show, number one. And number two, I am by far not the coolest person you've had on the show so far, by far.
Well, you're ranking up there. You brought the Jack Daniels.
I knew how to taunt you a little with it, right? Yeah. And you said something kind of interesting, striking up a conversation. I actually think that's been part of my life work, is to pay attention to the conversations and what's important about them. That's woven through my real life work, my consulting work that I do, but I also think it's been really at the heart of why I like to direct and why I've been involved with the arts for a long time. Everybody's always assumed since I was in high school that I must have a job in the arts, and I've never had a job in the arts, but I made a business as a side business, a side hustle around the arts. So, what really started it here, I've been involved in theater. I lived in Pierre and worked for state government and was involved with Pierre players back then. But when I came here, Andrew Henriksen used to be the artistic director at the Sioux Falls Community Playhouse. And he and his wife were going to go on vacation. And he said, I need somebody to direct. Haven't you done some directing? I said, I have. And he said, I'd like you to direct the show Tony and Tina's Wedding. I'd never heard of it, knew nothing about it. If your listeners don't know anything about it, it's you come to a tacky Italian wedding, dance, and reception, and you are the friends and family of Tony and Tina's. And whether you want to or not, you get sucked into the whole conversation. And you are, and that improv piece is a little different than the improv comedy that we talked about. There's a script, a portion of a script, but a lot of it is left open once the reception starts to happen and the dancing and all of that starts to happen. So I directed that for the Playhouse, and it was so wildly successful. We sold it out like instantly, and a lot of buzz happened with it. And we had another partner at that time, Bob Euchre, who got together with Toby and I and said, I think we could keep making this happen. And we did. And we created a business, Off the Cuff Stuff. And I think for something like 7 or 8 years. We did several months of it in a row, weekend after weekend. And still, it's no kidding. Last week, someone walked up to me and said, hey, I know you. And when they say that, I just know they're going to say Tony and Tina's Wedding. Yeah.
And I think the VFW, that used to be a hopping place because of the shows that we were in there.
Yeah.
Sadly, it became what it is now, the Alliance and so forth. But man, I know that at least I spent some money there, either in attending Tony and Tina's or being in it.
Yeah, I think another thing that's at the heart of who I am is how can you help community? And I think several venues were helped. I don't know if they would say it or not, but we did Tony and Tina's Wedding for the Elks. And the Elks was a place that was kind of dying out. And we brought a lot of energy and stuff back to their old facility, not where they are now. And people started to have real wedding receptions there. And they were wildly tickled with their bar sales that they had from the Elks. And then we went to
And that's just from the cast.
Yeah, and then we went to the Ramkota, and at that time, it was before the Ramkota was redone, and that place was not doing as well. And same thing started to happen. They've had a revitalization, and I know they have a healthy business now. But so we've done our show in a number of different venues, and probably our most successful one was with the VFW. That partnership, they really became partners with us when we first went there. I think some of the old guard that were there were not happy that all this chaos and noise that was there. And it comes showtime, and those people were in the audience and volunteering and helping at the door and doing everything. So I like to think that we build community through this work too.
Yeah, and basically that's what you do for your life as well.
Yeah.
In your given job that you, you kind of created that yourself as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. About 25 years ago, I had been working in state government. I worked for Lieutenant Governor Carol Hillard. She decided to run for Congress and asked me to run her office down here in Sioux Falls, and that's when I moved down here. And it never takes me very long once I'm in a community to find where the arts and artists and those creative types are. I think I'd be known as a creative type as well. And so you find each other fairly quickly in a community, and that's what I did when I came here to Sioux Falls.
What do you like creating more? Something that becomes a performance? Or something that becomes part of the community?
That's a really good question.
I get in at least one per interview, John.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I think that I'm not sure if this answers the question or is avoiding it, but it feeds different parts of my soul. The work that I do, I'm really passionate about that work and building community and having conversations and helping people. A lot of my work is strategic planning too, so that doesn't sound like building community, but I'll give you an example. I've been working the last couple of weeks with the palliative care team for Sanford, and they were redesigning how they're going to do care at end-of-life issues with people at the Sanford system. And I got to witness while they were trying to figure that out and helped with a few processes to let them have that conversation. So that's really fulfilling. On the art side, I've been an actor for a long time, and I love that because I love to escape into a character. But I really like directing because I think it's a journey that you take actors and actresses on, is how do you get them outside of their discomfort? How do you take them to another place? How do you convince them to step into that character authentically and fully? So that's a whole different side of me that likes to guide people through that.
So when did the acting start? How young were you? Do you remember what the first play you were in?
Well, I'm also a singer. I don't know if you know that.
I did. Well, yes, I did see you sing a couple of times with the Haig brothers and so forth.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'm our family's wedding and funeral singer, with my clan from there. But I just happened to talk to her last night. My very, very first friend I ever had in my life when I went to kindergarten was a girl named Brenda Salunica. And she and I sang at the Christmas concert, Frosty the Snowman, and I still remember that. And when people went like this,
you went, oh, wow, that's cool.
I was hooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what age was that?
Kindergarten.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, you did start early.
Yeah.
Favorite role you've played?
I just knew you were going to ask me this. There's a tiny bit of a story behind it with everything with me, but I was in college and I'd gotten a part when I was a freshman. And I went to the University of Minnesota Morris, and they had a pretty strong theater department, and their getting roles in the plays was more of a junior-senior thing. And I'd auditioned and was blind to the knowledge that juniors and seniors were supposed to get the roles. And I got a role, and the rest of the cast was really mean to me. And one night, I must admit, Dave, I'd had a few drinks before I went to rehearsal, and I went off on one of the other characters in the play. And it was, once I'd stood up for myself, then I was part of the troupe. It was like they needed me to stand up for myself. So this is going to sound very silly. I played lots of wonderful parts, but I was the Sheriff of Nottingham in a musical version that was for kids at the college. And literally, when they put the cast, this they put the cast list up, and you'd have to walk over to the theater, and everybody's standing there trying to look at it. And I thought the Sheriff of Nottingham was probably a tiny part, and it was the lead part in the show, and that's why those juniors and seniors were mad. But my favorite moment was, you don't know, and it was a little slapstickish, and all the children are there, and I go to the edge of the stage and say, which way did he go? And I go the opposite way that the kids point, and there's this screaming and yelling, and when I came out into the lobby, I got swarmed by little kids, and it made all of the pain of the rehearsal and all that worth it. So you see there's a bit of a theme.
Exactly,
right, with this.
yeah. And what would be the role that you have not played that you would love to?
Oh my gosh, that's a really great question. I've always thought about Professor Henry Higgins. I think I'm starting to get old enough for that. Maybe not quite old enough yet, but I'd like to play that part. And I also would desperately like to be the MC in Cabaret. I think I was born to play that part.
I could see you playing that one for sure.
Yeah.
And that one does get done a lot as well. So your opportunities are there yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, when they did it here in Sioux Falls, the last time they did it, we were doing Tony and Tina's wedding. We weren't done with our run, and they wouldn't hold up rehearsals for me to come play the part.
All right. What about the directing then? What's been the most enjoyable? And then what also followed up with what was the most intriguing to you that you knew you would have a challenge with?
What I really love about directing is you take people on a full-fledged journey. And I like watching that reveal. I can remember we had, in Tony and Tina's wedding, I'll use that as an example, we had someone come to rehearse, to auditions, who was coming with someone else and did not want to audition. And I said, what are you doing? Why are you sitting there? Here's a book, get up, read. And almost every one of my shows, I find someone somewhere. And his name is Bob Bowe.
Oh, wow.
And he was Father Mark in very, very many of our productions. And I remember we were getting close to opening the show, and Bob Bowe said, can I meet you somewhere? And we met at a pub, another theme of my life, met at a pub, and he said, I can't do this. I can't be this. I'm too frightened. I don't want to do this. I hate to do this to you, but I want to back out. And I think it was my skills of persuasion to convince him, you're making no commitment yet. You can still back out, but we got rehearsal tonight. Let's go to rehearsal tonight. And I got a chance to talk to him about what was really getting in his way and what he was really afraid about. And that night, when rehearsal was over, he'd walked through all of those fears in that moment because I was able to set that up. And it's so exhilarating to watch a character blossom from someone who's afraid when they first show up. And what's really the truth about that is I think when they begin to forget themselves is when the best acting happens.
It's interesting you say that because anybody that's ever seen Bob, especially play that part, you would have no idea that he was fearful of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
He was made for the part.
Yeah, and then quite the family of actors as well.
Their whole
that they
family
have.
is.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What do you want to direct sometime? You know, you're pretty busy continually with your own job, your own business and so forth, but what would you like to do?
Well, to be honest with you, you're right. My work takes me lots of places, and so I'm not even in town as much as I used to be. I really think I've got a hankering I'd like to be in something again, to be an actor in something again, and dive into a part. Tony and Tina's, one of the things that I think my business partner, Toby and Kane, and I have done very well is we allow for whatever's starting to develop. And that interactive dinner theater was really new, and we stepped into that. That was 15 or so years ago. And then 10 years ago, Acoustic Christmas was winding down. And at the same event, I turned to John Haig at intermission, and he turned to me, and I said, I think I want to have a conversation with you. And he said, me too. And out of that came Holiday Jam with the Haig brothers. And so we did that for 10 years. We've gotten out of that about 2 years ago, and we're really open to whatever is calling for next. But I've really been asked a lot about, would you bring that back? What we miss doing that. And I think it depends a little bit on how the COVID plays out. But
True.
I think people are ready to be back together again. And it might be interesting to explore that. But I don't know. And I don't know what part, but I would... there's
would entertain that.
Yeah, a little bit of me would be entertained to. It's been a very long time since I've been on the stage personally. I think there are many arts people who've never seen me perform here, and I performed many times on this stage here. But I think it's time again.
Okay. Now, one of the things that came along right after starting Tony and Tina's and doing the interactive theater were the murder mysteries.
Yeah.
And we put on a ton of those. And what do you, first of all, I'll just kind of give people an idea. You know, a typical player musical, you have a script, and there's a point where you have to be off book. Okay? That's tough for an old fart like me. So that's why this interactive thing was great, because you still have a book, and then you have a lot of things you have to improv, because you don't have all that many lines. You still have to be in the right place at the right time. Then the murder mysteries came along.
Yeah.
And basically, we would have like 3 paragraphs that we would all need to remember. Our basic opening as to who we were, our alibi, and then who we were fingering as to who the criminal was. And all the rest of it was improv. And that was so much fun. And I know that you've had a great time being in those as well. But you know, just to give people the idea that there are things they can do. You know, they can go out and they can act in so many ways. And then, of course, there's improv, which you and I were in the original Blank Slate.
Blank Slate, I still have the T-shirt.
Well, I don't, because it wouldn't fit anymore. But not the way a lot of you think. It was in a good way that it wouldn't fit anymore. But tell us what made you think that improv would be cool to do here as well.
Well, I think a little bit that progression of things that happen. A lot of people would come and see the interactive dinner theater, and we got lots of requests like, could you bring that to our company? Could you bring that to our holiday party? Those types of things. And I actually probably would credit Toby more with this. He started to think about that, and I want to say this line so I don't forget it, because I know Toby listens to your podcast. I overheard Toby at a cocktail party one time say, John and I are really good business partners because I know the numbers and can do that part of it. And John's too stupid to know that anything he thinks up is too scary to do. Like, he's fearless. And when I heard him say that, at first I was offended, and I thought, no, that's what it is. I believe it's possible. And Toby with the numbers helps make it be possible. The improv comedy stuff really bred out of that. It bred out of we need a shorter. We couldn't do the full 3.5 hour Tony and Tina show at a corporate event, so we started looking at the murder mysteries, and we'd had lots of casts who over the years kept saying, are you going to do something else? We want to do something, led to that. And I think then it even got shorter than that. We started to get, I don't know if you know this, but we had a DJ business for a while. So
I worked for you.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Karaoke.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And so we got lots of requests when I would show up at the bars, like, what else could you guys do for entertainment? And that improv bred out of that. But improv for me was great because I was not in charge of that. Toby was in charge of that. So I didn't have to direct. I just got to show up. And that's what I liked about that.
Well, you know, the nicest compliment Toby has ever given me was when he was a guest on this show last year and said, Dave, you and John Beranek are the same. You like to get people together. And I was flattered by
Wow.
that. And I'm so glad you can be on the show with us this week. It's great catching up with you, for one thing. But also just to talk about, the arts and entertainment. And I know that you do a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
And you get to New York from time to time. So you have seen some incredible shows out there, haven't you?
Yeah, before COVID, I have 2 clients in New York that I got out there fairly regularly, and it became even known to my clients that I would attend some shows. And I was out there, and my sister happened to be out there as well. And I decided that I always go to Broadway and I see a show that everybody's talking about, right? And I thought, I want to go see one that it hasn't made it yet. And so I was looking, and I think this is what's great about the arts is I listened to a show, and I even looked it up to remind myself to write down what the premise of it is. But can you imagine deciding you want to go to an off-Broadway production where it says it's an Egyptian ceremonial police band gets stranded in a small town in Israel because of a mix-up at the bus station, and the townspeople let them stay overnight? I mean, does that even sound like a good show?
Sounds odd.
Sounds really odd. And what became of it was a show called The Band's Visit. And so we were there 2 weeks before it went to Broadway. And when the female lead, Katrina Link, sang this song, Omar Sharif. Now, who would ever think an Egyptian song about an Egyptian actor would bring down the house? And I remember grabbing my sister's arm and the woman beside me after she got done singing this song. And I've got goosebumps. I'm remembering the moment. And I literally said, this woman is gonna win the Tony this year. It was an unheard of show.
Off-Broadway at this point.
Off-Broadway. It was going to Broadway. And I said, it's going to go. The show gets over and 2 women are behind me and they tap me on the shoulder. And the woman said, I enjoyed watching you enjoy the show as much as I enjoyed watching the show. And by the way, The Band's Visit won 10 Tony Awards that year.
Incredible.
So and what I love about it is that when art is done well, seemingly, like I couldn't even explain it to tell people to go to The Band's Visit. I said, you just have to go. And so there's been some wonderful shows like that I've had a chance. Mary Louise Parker was in a show called The Sound Inside, and she is a Yale professor teaching writing. And this young student of hers is, and what you don't know early on is she's afraid of cancer, and this young man helps her find inspiration. And to watch this esteemed actress with this unheard of young man on there hold the stage with her was so great. And I saw Ed Harris in To Kill a Mockingbird. And I was there opening week, so when he was just getting revved up in the role. And I saw Annette Bening in Arthur Miller's All My Sons, which was just unbelievable. So you can't see, your listeners can't see it, but I save all of my playbills, and I saw the original version of Dear Evan Hansen, and I saw it on a Sunday at 2:00 in the afternoon, and Ben Platt, who originated it, sang his lungs out on a Sunday at 2:00. And I walked out of that theater with just elation about this is art. Mm-hmm. This is art when you show up and you give a performance to die for on a Sunday at 2 p.m.
Yeah. What do you like about the arts scene in Sioux Falls?
I love how varied it is. I love how many theater companies there are. I was thinking, Bob, I can't think of Bob's name, from the Pavilion has got this group that I haven't had a chance to go. Oh my God,
Good Night
yes.
Theater Club. I'll be going there tonight. Thursday night.
Oh,
yes.
You are. He and I, several times I've said, we should talk.
Yes, you should.
And I realized he's like we were when we came to town. Mm-hmm. He's oblivious to the old guard and is living into what it is that they're doing, and that metamorphosis that happens. And is it Bear Bodkin's Theater? Bodkin's Theater, you know. Some of the old guard decided to come back and start a theater company up, and I love those women that are involved in that. And so I love the variety, and I with COVID, I just hope that people will continue to realize and support the arts. I've been very moved by how people are supporting artists on a national level during this time of COVID, and that they're helping people in need. And I think sometimes we in Sioux Falls think, I got to go to Chicago or Minneapolis or New York to see something. And the reality is sometimes the performances here are just as stellar as you see other places. And so I really encourage people to continue to be a supporter of the arts and show up for it.
What do we need yet?
Well, I think I'm going to say something that 20 years ago, I did a strategic planning session for the Sioux Empire Arts Council. And I had a dear friend who's passed away recently by the name of Charlotte Carver, who was on the board. And 20 years later, they did another strategic plan. And Charlotte was a keeper of all things. And she pulled those two strategic plans out. And I didn't facilitate the second one. I facilitated the first one. And they were nearly identical in the needs and wants that people were saying. And I think one of the things that's tough with art is we compete with each other instead of collaborate with each other. I've got a great thought for you on this. I recently had conversations on our community health needs assessment. I was asked by Sanford and Navarre and that to foster conversations. And I apologize, I can't remember his name, but he's just about to retire from Feeding South Dakota. Do you happen to know his name?
Seen him on TV a lot.
Yeah.
I can't think of it.
Great guy. Yeah. So I'm interviewing him, and I said to him, what do we need to stop doing in this community? And his response was, I think we need to stop saying we want to collaborate. And he stopped talking. And I said, I think I'm going to need a little more on this. And he said, well, people often come up to the table and say they want to collaborate, but they actually come up for two reasons. One, to be in the know, find out what's happening, and two, to protect their turf. And he said, we need to start showing up to the table to say, what are we willing to give up or let go of in order to truly collaborate? And I think it would be very interesting of the artists in this community to come together and say, what are you willing to give up in order for us to truly collaborate?
Yeah, fantastic. When you are not part of the entertainment scene, when you're not so busy that you're out of town, what do you like to take in for entertainment? Obviously, you know, when you're out in New York, you've got Broadway shows and so forth. You go to a lot of events here, but what is it that, you know, first thing that pops into your head, like, gotta go see it?
Well, it's outside stuff. I love to be outside. I'm a farm boy at heart. And so like our wine bar, when they have the music outside, and I never know who's going to play on a Thursday night, and I just show up there and it's always excellent. I love First Fridays here in Sioux Falls. If people haven't been out and been downtown for that, there may be bands I've never heard of before that are there, but there's something about bumping into people and hearing music. I recently bumped into Bob Sutton, who's the CEO of the Avera Health System. And while music was playing, we got to have a conversation. Tell me what it's been like for you during COVID as a leader of a healthcare organization. And you're having it outside and music's playing and the food trucks are there. And so anything like that I think is outside is a big draw for me.
Yeah. Any other hobbies?
I recently went to the Arts Night fundraiser for the Pavilion, and I bought an art experience. I actually am a drawer, and I've gotten away from that. I was always a drawer as a kid, and my mom, I think she lives in this town. Pat Shaft is an artist here. And she was in Meller at the time, and I took art classes from her, and I loved it. When I was in college, I took one quarter, I took an art class, an art drawing class, and the professor, and I'm bragging now, the professor said to me, you have a gift and you should keep doing this. But I was so fixated on political science and psychology, the work that I was doing, those classes conflicted with each other. But so it stuck with me, and I bought some paper and some pencils, and I'm going to... I know you're taking singing lessons, and I decided it might be time for me to take some art drawing lessons again.
Yes, because we both crossed that wonderful threshold known as 50.
Yeah.
Yeah. fact, was that your 50th as part of the roast?
Oh, Lord, let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that. That was a big night.
That was excellent, and always great to see you, John. And let's give you a moment or two to talk about your business too.
Oh, we don't need to take much time with that. I do. My business is called Intersections Consulting, and my website is johnspeak.org, because I do motivational speaking, inspirational speaking, and the biggest share of my work now is around strategic planning. So I'm helping Department of Education, the Historic Preservation, Department of Social Services. I'm having some great experiences doing work with that. And then I'm often sought after for when people are needing to have tough conversations or think through their processes, and when they're really wanting to build community. I do that kind of work, and it just kind of pops up. And I just had a whole variety of work. I'd always had as kind of a bucket list, I wanted to do something international. And I got to help an international or an organization in Australia called ANECTO, which was a countrywide organization. And I got to go do strategic planning for this countrywide organization. And so I've been to Australia a couple of times. So you don't know where your life will take you.
That's true.
Lean into what you like to do. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is I love every day, because every day is different. I'm my own boss, and it just makes me very happy.
And we're happy that you had some time to spend with us.
Yeah, Dave, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, thank you, my friend. It's good to see you, and thanks again for the bottle of Jack.
Absolutely. Maybe it's the trend now.
I think so. It's 2 in a row. And we'll be back with more of the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Dr. Perry Langston and Dr. Corey Tooney know excellence is in you. That's why they provide you with excellent care at XL Chiropractic, improving your overall health in spirit, body, mind, and will. Get results the natural way. Arrange a consultation. 605-332-9235 or xlchiros.com. Excellent care for excellent people. XL Chiropractic, located at 4309 South Racket Drive in Sioux Falls.
Your time's up.
Thanks again for your listenership. Thank you for everything you do on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Certainly appreciate the likes, appreciate the downloads that you do on Podbean and wherever else you might be listening, whether it be Apple Podcasts, it's Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify. It is greatly appreciated. So thank you so much. Thanks again to these wonderful guests that we had today. Robyn Sieverding, also to John Beranek, and thank you to our friends down at 9th and Phillips, Wood Grain Brewery, the Frontier Bank, and Aquafresh. Love that little lobby area they have. That's where a good 90% of the Dave Holly Hour conversations take place. So thank you to them. But again, thank you for everything that you do as a listener. Keep spreading the word. Don't be afraid to share the post that comes out every Thursday morning about this show. Okay, that's going to wrap things up. I'm Dave Holly. Remember, for me, every day is a holiday.
The Dave Holly Hour has been brought to you by the Sky Lounge and Tea, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Ale Hop Brewery Tours, and Jesse Moppet Entertainment. If you would like to contribute to the continued success of this podcast, go to davehollyhour.com. At the bottom of the front page is the additional links section. Click on the orange button, Dave Holly on Linktree. You can order merchandise, become a Dave Holly Hour VIP, and make contributions to the show. The Dave Holly Hour is produced in the Dipsy Doodle Studios by Big D Entertainment.
Thanks for listening.